Well, in other news, which I'm afraid is probably going to hurt you pretty hard in your pocket, but you should find out just in the next 10 minutes or so how much you're going to be paying for electricity. The energy regulator, Nersa, the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, due to announce on whether it's approved Eskom's application to increase electricity tariffs. Now, Eskom wants 32%. Why do they want 32%? Well, I suppose because they can, but also because the power utility wants to recover billions of rands for operational costs. Now, this announcement's already been postponed at least once. Various views, of course, coming through on this, and we understand that we are going to have that announcement this afternoon. Well, our business reporter Ntokozo Khumalo with us in the studio. Give us a quick understanding of where we stand with Nersa. Ntokozo, good afternoon to you. Okay, firstly, if you look at the way that Eskom has been managed, you look at the debt levels, you look at all of the problems, an increase is definitely going to happen, right?
Absolutely, and that's exactly what analysts are expecting. We heard the meeting that Nersa just had between 2 and 4 this afternoon before they give us that briefing at 4:30, and definitely expectations are that we're going to see they might actually just get the 32%. Some analysts saying it might even be as high as 38% to allow Eskom obviously to recoup those losses that they spoke about. So right now it's not looking good for South Africans. It looks like we might have to dig a little deeper for our electricity, and it's even more daunting when you count that 8 hours of a day we're in the dark, but we're paying more for it.
I mean, what's so astonishing about this is that in reality, now we can all shout and scream, and trust me, we're all going to shout and scream, bang our heads on the wall in a bit, but the reality is that Eskom's debt is what, nearly 400 billion rand, used to be higher, that lots of people, I'm looking at certain councils, you know which councils you are, aren't paying for electricity. Then you've got the high cost of diesel, for example. All of this knocks on. There's no other way to pay for it. It has to come from the tariff, doesn't it?
And it seems that the consumer is the one that's hardest hit. I mean, for the last week or two, speaking to not just consumers, but businesses as well, you know, the cost that they've also had to incur and the investments they've had to make due to load shedding, but now the additional investment that they're going to need to make because of the tariff hike, it's really insane numbers. And, you know, analysts also saying that it's something that South Africans cannot afford, business or consumers, and that it seems a little bit insane for all these costs to be transferred down to the consumer. Eskom debt is standing at about 350 billion rand, so they're obviously going to try and maneuver around that and recoup some of the losses that they've experienced over the last couple of years. There is another meeting later on in the year, and some are expecting for us to possibly see another rate increase then as well.
What is it with you business people? You're always full of good news. The thing, of course, is that, in a way, Eskom's money has to come from people who can pay for electricity, or it has to come from the taxpayer. Often those are the same people. That's just how it is. There's no other way around it. The problems are so big. And some businesses are likely to say, if you increase power prices by 30%, well then, you might as well just have load shedding at stage 8 because I can't afford it anyway.
And a lot of businesses, Stephen, are actually working these strategies to get off the grid. So it definitely will be the average South African taxpayers who are, you know, feeling the brunt of these increases, because businesses who have the resources to be able to get off the grid, that's exactly what they're doing. Unfortunately, a lot of South African households don't have that luxury to be able to afford alternative sources of energy, such as solar and so on. So for most South Africans, it will be dealing with the Eskom increases as required, and, you know, as we're seeing, they might just be getting what they're looking for. So we don't know the next increase, what it might look like. Some are saying at least 9%. So, you know, year on year, that kind of adds up. And with the cost of living already for South Africans being so tough, it's really going to be interesting to see what the next couple of months bring with this additional cost.
Ntokozo Khumalo, thank you very much indeed. She'll be watching that announcement, so will I, and so will you when it comes at 4:30.